Oh, sure.
All right, good morning, folks. I'm going to kick this meeting off here this morning. It's November the 19th of 2025, time's 9 a.m. And before we go any further, we'll ask Buddy Stryham to come up and lead us in the word of prayer and pledge of allegiance. Thank you.
It's on. I heard it make noise. Let us pray first. Father God, we come before you and thank you so much for everything that you do for each and every one of us. And Lord, we thank you for the opportunity to come together to discuss the business of our county and just to work through different things. We pray, Lord, that you'd be here with us, that your Spirit would guide and direct everything that we do here, that we would glorify you and make you proud of us. And it's in Jesus' name we all pray. Amen.
Amen.
If you please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, as we call this meeting to order, we'll ask Rhonda if you would do a roll call, please.
Commissioner Buck?
Here.
Commissioner Schroeder?
Here.
Commissioner McDaniel?
Here. All right. Next item on here is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the agenda as presented.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Mr. Chair, I move we approve the consent agenda as presented.
There is a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented. Is there a second?
A second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the elected officials, department heads, and staff reports. We'll start off with elected officials. Do we have any elected officials here who'd like to make a report? Let me see if we can wait just a minute. Okay.
Good morning, Commissioners. Rhonda Braun, Elbert County Clerk and Recorder. Just want to give an update on the election and tell you it is my honor and pleasure to serve the citizens of Elbert County. Elbert County citizens rocked this election. We had over a 46% turnout, which was higher than the state average and pretty typical for this type of election in Elbert County. We had 11,515 votes cast. We had 140 people that voted in person, 109 on election day. Let's see. I just want to thank our amazing election staff, and I believe they're here today. Greg and Missy. Did Missy come? Okay, she was shy. But Greg Tolbert is our elections manager, and this was their first election to run, and they did a fantastic job. We had a fantastic crew. Our decision to not use Dominion voting systems and to move to clear ballot was an incredible one. We very much appreciated the clear ballot system. It was easy to use. We had great support. Our rep was here the day before, election day, and the day after, and honestly, he had a lot of time to take calls from other counties and give them support because the system was pretty easy to use, and we appreciated it. We had our election judges, I just want to read off, and some of them are here today. We have a bipartisan team of election judges that are just amazing. In fact, our clear ballot rep commented, he said, "You have no idea how wonderful your election judges are," but I do. And I'm not going to read off parties, I'll read off their names, because in that place, we are all going the same direction. We are all working together to accurately count and report every vote that is cast, and it's not, they're representing the Democrat and Republican parties, but in that place, we are all going the same direction and working together. So we have Tracy Ducharme, Brad Eit, Chris Hernecke, Ellen Krennick, Julie Shirobi, Jim and Karen Hart, Carolyn Jones, Ruth Ann Stricker, Debbie Kirk, Bella Melanie Bloom, Mary Wells, Diana Edstrom, Kim Garneau, and Ben Mead. A few of them were brand new this year and had a great time and are looking forward to working with us again. They worked together, they took initiative, they did whatever needed to be done, and they go above and beyond. So we very much appreciate them. I want to thank the Republican and Democrat parties. They both provided a meal, one on Monday, one on Tuesday for our judges, and they very much felt appreciated. So that is a huge thing that they don't need to do, and we appreciate that. Facilities was there, whatever we need, give them a call, and they were great support. Same with IT. Chris took calls from me on weekends and anytime I needed it, and they are just top notch. Dallas let us use the BOCC vehicle, and which our judges appreciated very much, because we go every single day to pick up ballots. As far as election results in Elbert County, we voted against Prop LL and MM. So 62% against LL, 68% against MM, although it did pass by about those margins statewide. On the Elbert County questions, for the sheriff and coroner to be able to run for another term, both of those passed. So both our sheriff and our coroner, as well as the other offices besides commissioner, will have the opportunity to seek another term, to seek a third term if they would like to do that. And then if anybody else wants to be sheriff or coroner, they have to get on the ballot and run against those guys should they choose to seek office. The town of Kiowa passed a lodging tax. The Kiowa school failed by 55 votes. So they were seeking a BEST grant and hoping to get to build a new school, and they have had that on there several times. The drop box locations continue to be very popular. Our Elizabeth drop box is the most popular, and we had over 4,600 ballots dropped in that drop box, followed by the Singing Hills drop box, which was over 2,600 ballots, and then kind of goes down from there. We also have a drop box at our drive-through at our building, and over 2,000 ballots were dropped there, and over 600 people came in to drop it in the drop box just inside the lobby of our building. So those continue to be the most popular way to return ballots. I just want to thank all the staff in our building that got to answer questions and direct people. It was a well-run election, and everybody did their part, stepped in. There was no super excitement. Secretary of State didn't even come visit me this time, so that was new. So do you guys have any questions?
Just a comment, job well done by you and your staff. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, great job. Real quick question. How often are the drop boxes picked up? Just out of curiosity.
Every 24 hours.
Okay. And that starts once election?
It starts, so we open the drop boxes when we mail the ballots, and then we have to pick them up within every 72 hours, so we pick them up every couple days. And then a week before the election, when the election judges are in there, we go every 24 hours. And election day, we just have a continuous pickup.
Good for you. Good for you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good job.
I'll just echo, good job. Not surprised at all, knowing the type of organization that's being run over there. So good job for you, the staff, the election judges. I have a little bit of understanding of what it takes to put an election on, and it's a heavy lift, and it takes a lot of people to do it. And so great job. And I'm pleased to hear that the clear ballot system worked as advertised as we made that decision to switch from Dominion to clear ballot. It's all theoretical until you go through an election to make sure that what they're selling to you is what's going to happen. And I'm really pleased to hear that they delivered, and it was simpler and worked well for you and for the voters. So happy about that decision, but great job. Relay it to the staff, relay it to the judges. We appreciate it.
Thank you. And with Clear Ballot, there was one certification that they weren't able to get from the state. It had something to do with ranked choice voting, which we're not doing anyway. And so we will be getting new equipment in after the first of the year. They just couldn't quite get that certification, so they just got us loaner equipment. So it might be even better next year.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other elected officials? Good morning.
Good morning, Commissioner Sherry Hewlett, Elbert County Treasurer. Jeez. We had our annual tax lien sale yesterday, so I just kind of wanted to report on how that went. I was a little bit nervous in the beginning because in all the years I've been doing this, that was the lowest turnout of investors that we've had. First of all, before I get into the numbers, I want to thank our amazing auctioneers, Todd Natale from Double Diamond Auctions and Ed Kovitz. They kind of tag team and get it done for us, and they did an amazing job, along with my staff, Michelle Ingersoll and Beth Barnes. Without them, it wouldn't go off as well as it did. So I thank them, and I'd like to thank Macy. We kind of had maybe an overlapping of meetings yesterday scheduled, so she was kind enough to figure out how to reschedule the meeting you all had yesterday afternoon. It all worked out. We could have made that work, but I just didn't know if I could be done in time. So I appreciate Macy for working with me on that. So we had about 18 investors. The premiums were low this year. We were down about $6,700 in comparison to last year, which for me is not the point. The point of the whole thing is to get our taxing districts paid in full. We sold I took to sale 159 properties. We sold all of them but 2, and those 2 were mineral rights, and I think we have some investors that'll come back in and purchase those later on this week. So that's the focus of the tax lien sale, is to get everything sold, and it doesn't matter how many investors you have, it's just, we got to get our districts paid. Premiums were about 4% in comparison to like 7% last year. So we took to sale 117 last year, so we were up in numbers on what we actually took to sale. But again, as I stated, it was, for the number of people that were here, it was a pretty good turnout, and people were bidding on stuff, and it worked out well. So again, as I stated, I was a bit nervous, wondering how it was going to go. So we don't really want the county to have to retain any properties if we can avoid that. So anyway. Do you have any questions on any of that? No.
Sounds like you covered it. It's a great job.
Yep. Thank you.
Yep. Pass on to your staff. We appreciate the work.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a lot of work to put on a live sale, but I like to see the investors that come to Elbert County, and I could sit at my desk and watch an online sale, and probably we would do better in the premium part of it, but that's not what I'm geared towards. So it's fun to have a live auction. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other elected officials? Make any comments, reports? All right, seeing none, we'll move to department heads. Do we have any department heads here? Any other staff reports? Going once, going twice? Okay.
Yes, actually, I'd like to take a moment to remind the board we're in budget season still, and we still need a couple answers on positions for next year. So I need to hear from the board on the part-time evidence tech position that was requested by the sheriff's office, as well as a final decision on the lieutenant positions and promotions, such as the corporal positions. Keep in mind the final budget presentation's coming up in December, so it would be great to get those answers before the end of the month. Thank you, honorable commissioners.
All right, noted, thank you. All right, with that, next item on the agenda is the citizens' public comment portion. And with that, I want to just read off here some stuff. I know a lot of you here today for items that are on the agenda. This section or portion of the meeting is not for public comments for items that are on the agenda. This is strictly for items that are not on the agenda. So with that being said, is there any public comment today regarding anything that's other than what's on the agenda? And to be clear, you will have an opportunity when we discuss these items to be able to come up and have public comments on those items, okay? So you're not going to be shut down. You will be able to have public comment about items on the agenda at the appropriate time.
My question is, I had comments about the Gold Creek subdivision, which I don't believe is on the agenda. The vacation of Palomino Trail is on the agenda, but not the Gold Creek subdivision.
That's under our land use, and that's at 1 o'clock today.
Okay,
So it'll be heard at 1 o'clock.
Commissioner, I believe she's referring to items G, 1 and 2, the road vacations for Pinto and Palomino.
Okay, sorry. There's two of them pretty close together. All right, so yeah, we can't comment about that right now, but you can next. That's the next item on the agenda, and we will open it up for public comments.
okay, but the Gold Creek subdivision is not until 1 o'clock this afternoon? Or because it doesn't say Gold Creek on here.
Yeah, I don't see Gold Creek on here. I've got Cody Ridge, PUD, I've got some other things on there at 1 o'clock today.
I believe the road vacations is related to Gold Creek. There is no separate item for Gold Creek.
Okay, so if you want to wait till I call up for the next item on the agenda, then you've got public comments. You'll be allowed to discuss that at that time.
I can discuss Gold Creek at that time too?
Yes.
Even though
As long as it has something to do specifically with vacating Palomino Trail or Pinto Trail.
my comments for Gold Creek doesn't pertain to I have comments about vacating it, but my comments about Gold Creek is not specific to vacating.
All right, so Lance, I don't see anything here, so as long as it's not pertaining to that, are you okay with her moving forward?
I think the board can decide that when we get to it next. That is not an application that is coming before the county. That's an application that's in the town of Elizabeth. So I'm not sure what comments would be relevant. Somehow I turned it off. I'm not sure how comments would be relevant to any action that could be taken by the board, but you're welcome to hear from her and make that decision.
Gentlemen, what do you say?
Yeah, let her talk.
Okay, you good? Go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, I'm Cindy Adams. I live at 2335 Palomino Trail. Gold Creek subdivision, the part that I have a problem with, and I think you probably should hear, is that they want to vacate our bridle path along that subdivision. That bridle path is not in the city of Elizabeth, it's in the county. So the county should have jurisdiction over our bridle path. I've lived in this house for 25 years. That bridle path has been there since before I moved in. It was platted with our property. We use it almost every day. And they're planning to close our bridle path so that they can use it for their property. They also have an emergency access coming through up to Palomino, which takes part of our bridle path. The emergency access, Palomino Trail is a dirt road. Okay, if you're going to allow all of these houses to come onto your county road, what are you going to do to improve the road or keep them, make sure that it's only emergency access? emergency access takes part of our bridle path. So why should we lose our bridle path to give their subdivision access to more lots and only our park, their access through the rest of our bridle path? If you close our bridle path down there, you're in effect closing our access to our park on that side. I guess that was mainly my problem, the emergency access and the closing of our bridle path. But you're taking somebody's property to do that. Thank you.
Right, thank you. All right, any other public comments that's not related to discussion items that we've got on the agenda? All right, seeing none, we'll move forward. Next item on the agenda is the discussion items, and number one is consideration of resolution for vacating Palomino Trail.
Good morning, Commissioners. Monty Hankins, Elbert County Public Works Director. I believe in talking to legal counsel, we can probably look at discussing at the same time both items 1 and 2, Palomino Trail and Pinto Trail vacancies. In relation to the Gold Creek Commons subdivision coming in and potential request for access to those roads, we are presenting to you consideration of resolution for vacating 75 feet of the far east end of Pinto Trail and 190 feet of the far east end of Palomino Trail. Now, what's interesting with Palomino Trail is it continues on beyond county maintenance as a private road, so there would still need to be maintained a portion of that 190-foot vacancy as access for the residents, the 3 addresses that live on the other side of that road, the private portion of that, and that would be retained within the vacancy paperwork that is presented to you. In doing this, it is the potential to prevent access for quite a bit of traffic coming from Gold Creek Commons. There have been many different numbers shot out there about how many dwelling units might be associated with that subdivision. Some of them were in the range of 120. There has been talk of upwards of 300 units for that subdivision. Even if you were to take into account the 120, the new numbers for traffic analysis nowadays is roughly 10 vehicle trips per day per unit. So you'd be looking at 1,200 trips per day. Granted, most of those, when the subdivision is built out, will probably access Highway 86 because that would be the easy route to go. And there is going to be a traffic signal go in at that intersection eventually, so that would allow full movement. Currently, there would probably only be right in, right out of that. Once the traffic signal's up, I think it'll allow full movement, and then most common people would use that access for that. Even if, though, you took that number down to a quarter of what that overall traffic could be, you're going to be upwards of 200 trips per day, close to. State requirements for upgrading a dirt road to a paved road is, the threshold is right at 200 vehicle trips per day. If you're above 200 vehicle trips per day, you should look at upgrading the road to an asphalt road. Not a total requirement, it's a recommendation with the state. As everybody probably knows, within this county, we have many roads that are much higher traffic than that are still maintained as a dirt road. Largely in portion to finances within Road and Bridge is why those roads haven't been upgraded to asphalt. Through development, though, we have made great strides in working with developers to have off-site improvements done, and we have made, several improvements to roads, and will continue to do so over the next years as development moves through the county. The problem with Pinto and Palomino and looking at offsite improvements associated with Gold Creek Commons is we have a 60-foot right-of-way within there. All the older dirt road subdivisions that are north of Elizabeth and Cimarron is what we're talking about. Cimarron was built out in 1972. Since then, what has happened and continues to happen up on many of the older dirt road subdivisions is residents, not intentionally, just seem to crowd the right-of-way with landscaping, trees, driveways, fences, mailboxes, things of that nature. So whereas we did have 60 feet right-of-way, truthfully, we only have about 40, maybe. So if you went to upgrade those roads to asphalt roads, you're going to need to reestablish drainage, cut ditches, get your road top the proper width to pave the road, and in doing so, you're going to have to for sure get your 60-foot back. And if the road is looked at as a collector, if the traffic counts get up high enough to be considered collector roads, then we really should have 90 feet road width right away. In doing so, we would be taking out several people's front yards and landscaping and fences and things of that nature in this process in upgrading those roads. I don't really think that's a necessary evil in this situation. Therefore, that is why we are presenting to you the recommendation, or the consideration, I should say, of vacating 75 feet of the far end of Pinto Trail and 190 feet of the far east end of Palomino Trail with a private road access easement. Do you have any questions?
And what you're suggesting here, the lady that just spoke just a couple of minutes ago, with these bridle paths, what is that going to do to that? Is that going to?
You know, I am unaware of the bridle paths, being it's not really necessarily a public works road
Right.
easement issue. So to be honest with you, I wasn't even aware that was there. You got any comment on that?
Yeah, it's the first time hearing, Lance Ingalls, County Attorney for the record, it's the first time hearing about a bridle path issue. The road vacation resolutions in front of you would not directly impact that. I am assuming that the bridle paths do not overlap with the right-of-way. That would be atypical. But this is not intended to address anything related to bridle paths and anything related to the application in the town of Elizabeth.
Thank you. Commissioner Buck, you have any comments or questions, sir?
Not at this time.
Commissioner Schroeder?
Not at this time.
All right, I'll probably call back on you in a couple of minutes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so at this point, we're going to open up the public comment section on these particular items here. Is there anybody that'd like to speak in public comments regarding this? Yes, ma'am.
Really, the bridle path is our property.
Give me just a minute, if you would please.
Betty Pickenpaw.
Okay.
I live on last street in Pelham, last house. And the bridle path, there's 15 feet, and it is fenced so that other people can use it, but it is our property. It isn't the county's, and it shouldn't be the city's, but I see the city map shows it using that 15-foot, their proposed building. And that's what I object to. I do not object to having an emergency street coming into our street. But I know how people obey signs. It won't be just for emergency. They will use it for everything unless it's set so they can't. And that would put more traffic onto Palomino. And we have a lot of people walk dogs. They ride horses. And it's very concerning. Plus, it might affect the cul-de-sac, which is a necessity because the fire department, ambulance, they have to have room to turn around at the end of Palomino. And so we need to keep that cul-de-sac operable. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Sir?
My name is David Bourne, and I represent the owner of the property immediately east of Pinto and Palomino, Gold Creek Commons. Our property is governed by an approved plan unit development, which already established the permitted planning areas and access points intended to serve those areas. Our current application with the town of Elizabeth is the formal platting of those previously approved areas, and the review is underway. Before submitting the application, we made a substantial effort to understand and respond to neighborhood concerns. We attended 3 public meetings, and I personally visited more than 10 Cimarron residents in their homes. Excuse me. Their message was consistent. They did not want new full access road connections into their subdivision. In direct response, our application proposes emergency vehicle access only on Palomino and Pinto. Because our application includes no public access connection into Cimarron, the concerns about increased traffic are already fully addressed. Our design was intentionally crafted to avoid the very impact the proposed vacations are described as preventing. Despite the substantial effect that vacating a right-of-way has had on adjoining property, no outreach of any kind was made to us. Article 10 requires applicants to inform and meet with affected property owners, and the county's own vacation application requires 100% written consent from abutting owners. While the standards may differ when the county rather than a resident initiates the vacation, the government's greater power should require greater, not lesser, responsibilities for transparency and engagement. None of those occurred here. The county has mandatory criteria that must be met before a right-of-way may be vacated. Several of these cannot be satisfied here. Criteria 2 states the vacation must not interfere with development or deny access to adjoining property. Both Pinto and Palomino are designated access points in the approved PUD. Vacating them removes legally recognized access and restricts development and circulation options. So criteria 2 is not met. Criteria 3, the applicant must notify and meet with affected property owners. That has not happened. Criteria 4, the vacation must be consistent with original plat assumptions. These rights-of-way were part of the area's longstanding circulation framework. The purposes stated in these resolutions, restricting access due to traffic concerns, directly contradicts the original assumptions and the PUD's established access points. So criteria 4 is not met. Criteria 5, the vacation must align with the spirit and intent of regulations. The intent of Article 10 is to support coordinated planning and preserve access, protect emergency services capability, and avoid restricting development on adjoining property. Vacating a right-of-way reduces emergency access flexibility, interferes with the town of Elizabeth's active planning review, and increases the likelihood that any remaining connection would need to operate as full access, the opposite of what Cimarron residents asked us to avoid. So criteria 5 is also not met. For an action as significant as eliminating established access to an adjoining property, one would normally expect a staff analysis demonstrating how these criteria are satisfied. Instead, the staff report restates the resolution without any evaluation. A decision to vacate a right-of-way deserves more than a template and a conclusionary statement. This action was initiated after our planning application was filed. Adjusting long-standing access conditions mid-review is a reactive decision. Reactive decisions create long-term inconsistencies, reduce predictability for emergency services, and undermine coordinated planning between jurisdictions. Sound land use practice requires stability, transparency, and advanced coordination, not reactive measures taken in response to a neighboring application. In summary, our property development rights are guided by an existing approved PUD, which includes the access points now proposed for vacation. Our application creates no public traffic into Cimarron. Neighborhood feedback directly shaped that design. Multiple mandatory Article 10 criteria cannot be met. No outreach occurred. No analysis was provided. The action would restrict established access and conflict with an approved PUD, and it would diminish emergency services to both town and county residents. For these reasons, I respectfully request that the board deny both proposed vacations and bring this matter to a close. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments? You give us your name and address, sir.
So Chris Copeland, 2535 Palomino Trail. So I'd like to thank everybody for consideration of trying to make sure that we maintain the quality of our community within Cimarron. In general, I am in support of this vacation. There are a few things I would like to point out. One, in addition to the previously mentioned, planned 120 units of residential, there's also a commercial plan within the community there. So that traffic load that was previously presented is most likely going to grow over time as the rest of that development goes in. So those numbers are only going to go up. So you can't expect just that starting point. To the point of whether or not we have gotten a limitation of the traffic on our roads through the plan, it has been presented that no guarantee really of any true restriction has been presented. It's been said that it could be as little as a sign that is put on the road, emergency vehicles only, in which case we all know nobody's going to be sitting there monitoring that, and nobody's going to be most people are not going to restrict their movements there. So we have no guarantee that there will actually be a restriction onto our roads from this Gold Creek Commons development. The city, it's city land, it's a city development. There is a way that has been discussed about trying to connect it to County Road 13 so that they have two ways of access, 2 points of ingress and egress in order to support the emergency. City has found it to be too expensive in order to create that set of access on their property and their lands. So they are then going to put that on the county, our lands, in the Cimarron community. I do not believe that the Cimarron community should suffer for the fact that the city does not want to go through the expense of making the roadways that they need for their developments within their jurisdiction. And I just want to close with, recently there was some road work done on Cimarron and Palomino. I want to thank everybody for that. It's much appreciated.
All right, thank you. Any other public comments? Hi. Give us your name and address. Good, how are you?
My name is Karen Carter. I've been a longtime resident of Elbert County. I bought my house in Cimarron in 1997. I live right on Cimarron at 34899 Cimarron Trail. I truly appreciate the time that you're taking to listen to this room full of residents that have high concerns about this. About 8 or 9 months ago, there was a detour placed from the highway through Cimarron. We experienced cars going 50, 60, 70 miles an hour, no kidding, down our road. The sheriff was awesome. We called, they came and sat in the park and issued tickets. We did not receive a letter about this detour. None of us knew. We have a covenants from 1971. Your recorder has all the maps that list that these are bridle and utility paths connected to each one of our properties. Each one of our properties has 2, if not 3, utility bridle paths listed historically through all of the mapping, all of the plots in the covenants that we have. We were established in 1971. All of us respect those equestrian paths. We keep them up on our own. We ride our horses every day. I am an accomplished equestrian. I sell horses for $25,000 to $30,000 that aren't even at the point that they're going to make the competitor. My last horse made the competitor $120,000 in 6 months. Those horses are worth money. We train them on our paths. We train them in our equestrian arenas. We fence our property. We wave at each other when we drive by. because there's a commercial development that is connecting to our open space park and requiring to use our land to create a pathway for emergency vehicles that will disrupt the way that we live. We're a historic Elbert County community. We're one of the first neighborhoods you guys see when you drive into our community. The fact that the historic ranch across the street from Gold Creek was removed and not preserved to show our equestrian, rural, agricultural way of life is a tragedy. You guys are placed right now because we voted for you to listen to us about water, about development, about land use, about light sourcing. We need you. We trust you. Right now, it's difficult because everybody wants to move here. I used to work for an incredible town manager, and he said, our land is gold. The fact that town of Elizabeth owns property that connects to Road 13 and is not willing to look at impact fees, look at the property value, look at how they can go to the state and try to get grants, finance a connection into that neighborhood, but yet push them through us. And Cimarron is hard to get on the highway already. So we're going to have congestion at Cimarron. We're going to have congestion down where they're connecting to 83. It has nothing to do with CDOT. If you put that high density into that neighborhood, you should provide the infrastructure. I sure as heck know that neighboring communities that are huge now did that before the development came in. And they required a lot of that from the developer. So we ask you respectfully to listen to us. We have paid taxes. I shop religiously in Elbert County. I barely go out of our county if I have to. I really don't do a lot of online because I want our sales tax to matter here. I know that our community is historic. We love what we do. We're true neighbors to each other, and we use that equestrian path every single day, and it borders our community. The developer mentioned to one of our residents that they would give us 5 feet. That's our feet. We already have that. It's in our land plots. It's there. So if you need a copy of our original covenants that states that we have bridle paths, I'd love to present it to you. But I do know that in the recording office, you have all of the maps that show clearly bridle utility path, bridle utility path. So.
Would you mind sharing that with our attorney, our county attorney, and then
That'd
you
be
can share
great.
it with the board at some point in time? Are you okay with that, Lance?
I want to stress to you in closing that we completely appreciate your time and attention, and we know that this is a tough thing. Development's going to happen. We know that. We just want it to be smart, and we want to be respectful to the people who are already here. We have wells. We have property that we appreciate. So thank you so much for listening.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am? No, that's fine. Take your time.
Hi, I'm Cindy Andrews. Hard to follow that, but I'll try. So the property development will generate apparently 120 units times 10 trips a day. That's 1,200 trips per day. It's a lot of traffic. So to me, that's way too much for 86 to handle. So we need a second access, not just a second emergency access. And my recollection is town staff suggested a connection to 13, CR 13. Makes all the sense in the world. So I want to support that. Secondary access through Cimarron would be too great an impact on the county roads and on Cimarron itself. So that saying, I support the effort to vacate, please. Okay, that's it.
All right, thank you. Anyone else?
Hi, I'm Kathy Davis, 2488 Palomino Trail. Been there since 1996. I will echo what has been very well stated, by the way, about what we were told when we moved in there, about covenants and bridle paths and that sort of thing. That is 100% correct. The whole zoning has been equestrian, and we want to preserve that whole atmosphere there. When we have increased traffic, or not just in Cimarron itself, but around the whole community, you increase traffic accidents. You increase crime, violent crime. And it isn't just here, it's already happened in Elbert County, where we had an officer shot over a year ago. Right? Right. When you increase water usage and everything else, you've got a real problem. Because as has already been stated, we're on wells. And unless there's reparations financially set aside to reimburse homeowners for such things, then this is just, should be a moot point. But at any rate, when we're talking about emergency access, signs and gates only keep the honest people out. It will not keep people who say, I don't care. That's been proven. A lock on your house will only keep the honest thief out. It's just the way people are. When we have a rural community and we're having this forced density of housing and commercial right up against it, that's a recipe for an unmitigated disaster. I have publicly stated before that Gold Creek Commons is a square peg in a round hole. If you look up at that logo there for Elbert County, I would just call everybody's attention to that. At the top it says Elbert, at the bottom it says county. What is encased in that is rural open land that's conducive to the lifestyle that we were told we could have when we moved out there. So I don't support taking away the bridle paths and doing all this density. That's only going to be a disaster. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Hi.
Hello, my name is Julie Denton. Do I have to say my address?
Yes, please.
34661 Cimarron Trail. So the edge of my property goes, if you cross Cimarron Trail, that's Palomino. So I live right where the emergency access is being proposed. I'm asking for the vacation. I understand property rights. I understand that this developer has property rights on his land. I'm a visual person, so I have a map of it with me for everybody that he gave us. This does not fit. It's just not a good fit. There is a good fit for this land. This is not it. I understand he can still move forward with this because of all of the things that have been done in the past. But in part of this, if I am reading this map correctly, right here on this edge, it is taking away this entire bridle path and utility easement, all the way down through every single person's property, through our park as well. That's just completely being gotten rid of, if I am reading this map correctly, and he can correct me if I'm wrong.
Let me interrupt you a minute. Would you mind bringing it a little closer for us to take a look at, if you don't mind?
Commissioners, we need a microphone for this conversation.
Sorry. Okay, so you see right here, this dark line, that is the property line of this person. Her name is Betty, who lives there. That is the property line, but then you have this utility easement, right? This little spot right here. And right here is where his new property line starts, on her utility and bridle path easement. And it runs all the way down to 86. So we're losing all of our bridle path right there. We are an equestrian community, and I don't think that's okay to then take part of our equestrian lifestyle, because they need that. I'm really not okay with that. And including our park. A lot of people utilize the park because it is a community area. And so to then be losing part of that as well is just, that's not okay in my opinion.
Would that be picked up in the legal description, meets and bounds and that sort of thing, as far as whose property that is? It should be picked up with the legal description and with title and
I like how you say it should be.
I'm just saying. Yeah.
I think a lot of things should happen and they don't. So this is super concerning to me, that is in the plan right now. Also because then you can take in all of that. I think they have to have this to get the road access. If they don't have that, they don't get the road access.
Interesting.
Not to mention with the traffic, right? We're talking right here. This is the only way in and out of this neighborhood if this is emergency access only, right? You're talking, 150 units, let's say. Let's multiply that at least times 2. Okay, so 300 cars. But let's be real, no one only has 2 drivers in their household anymore. We have teenagers. How many cars are coming in and out of here? My road, I come out here. I live roughly right here. Sorry, earphone. So I come out right here on Cimarron Trail onto State Highway 86. Sometimes I already have to wait 10 minutes to make a right turn. If you put a stoplight right here, it's going to be insanity for traffic. No one's ever going to leave Cimarron Road ever again. Like anybody in my neighborhood, we no longer have any access to leave unless we come up all the way around here to County Road 13. But it makes sense to me to put their road over here next to the middle school. This is Town of Elizabeth land. They can build a road. Might cost money, but sometimes good ideas cost money. Things that are good for people sometimes cost money. So.
Would you mind sharing or can you give this map to our attorney?
Can they make a photocopy of it? It has my random notes on it, sorry.
Is that okay? I mean, we can
Sure.
scratch through your notes if we need to, so.
Commissioner McDaniel,
Yeah.
it should be part of the application that you're referring agency on, so you should have it. That being said, I can send
We got it.
a copy of anything that.
Okay, all right. I just want to make sure we got it. That's all. If you say we got it, it's good. Thank you for that.
If he does not have it, I'm happy to send it to him.
Thank you.
So those are some of my really major concerns. Traffic's gonna be a nightmare. And Town of Elizabeth is like, oh, that's CDOT's problem, it's Highway 86, and I don't even know if we can contact CDOT because they're kind of non-responsive. Everyone's passing the buck off to someone else, and we're gonna suffer, ultimately. There is probably a very good use for this land. No offense, I don't think this is it. And the developer doesn't live in our community. He's had meetings, yes, but ultimately he gets to go home. He gets to go to his community. He doesn't have to sit here and deal with our problems. So I think you should vacate the land. There should be more discussion on what's going on with this, and it's unfortunate that it started, 20-ish years ago. I know we have a commission right now. You guys have put together a commission for development for our county going forward, and I know that only starts in like 2030 because so much stuff has already been approved and whatnot. But I would highly recommend that we put a cap on if a developer comes in and wants to do something, let's not give them 20 years to do it, get it started in 3, because then that reflects what the community wants. 97% of our county does not want this for our county. We took a survey 1 or 2 years ago. Probably a lot of people were part of that survey. It was very recent. We don't want this. We want rule. I have only lived here for a little over a year. I moved into Cimarron. It was very desirable. My husband and I spent about 10 years trying to be able to buy property out here. We worked hard for it.
Commissioners, I'm told we've surpassed 5 minutes.
Sorry, I'm rambling on now. Anyway, please do what we can to not just hand this over without a little bit of a fight to preserve what we have. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Anyone else? So need your name, address, and try to keep it to 5 minutes, okay?
Yes, sir. Jenna Jacobson, 34104 Cimarron Trail. I appreciate you starting with a prayer, and so I'm hoping that you'll hear this first part of my speech. The Bible strongly condemns harming or exploiting others for personal gain, viewing it as an offense against God and a violation of the commandment to love one's neighbor. That's exactly how we feel. We feel that there's a developer coming in, not even from our own state, and he is willing to harm dozens of us in the neighborhood, potentially forcing us out of our homes and stopping our current way of life for his personal gain. And I very much appreciate your support and your help in trying to help us preserve our current way of life. And I know it's hard because the city of Elizabeth is separate from the county. And so for you to stand and have our backs means the world to us. It is already, as it's been stated, it's very hard. Heaven forbid that we try to turn left with a horse trailer from Cimarron onto 86. I can't imagine what another traffic light and what more traffic is going to do. As it was mentioned, emergency access with a sign that says emergency only is not going to be sufficient. So if you put up a locked gate, that's no longer quick access to get out, unlock the gate, etc. And if you push that whole neighborhood and all of the 25 acres of development, of the commercial development onto 86, we're hosed. We aren't getting out. And we can't put a light at our road because of the incline, and it would be impossible for semis and other trailers to start and stop on that incline. So to have another connecting bridge onto 13 to kind of alleviate some of the traffic and the congestion would be not a great answer, but a better answer. And so I just appreciate your support, and please, please, as our county, we don't have the city on our side. We shouldn't have to fight for our homes and for our lifestyle. Thank you for supporting us, and please, please continue to do so.
Quick question. What Bible verse was that?
It's mentioned 5 or 6 times, and I can get you the specific areas of the Bible. That was more or less a summary.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other public comments?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Kara Grzinski. I'm the Division Chief of Administration and Prevention and the Fire Marshal for the Elizabeth Fire Protection District. Typically, generally, the fire district does not condone vacating right-of-ways. We never know what happens in the future. This can lead to fragmented routes and limited access for residents and emergency services. These easements can allow future, I'm talking 20 years, 30, we don't know what's going to happen with pieces of property. They also allow for improved traffic flow and service secondary traffic patterns during emergencies. And so typically the fire district would always speak against vacating roadways. In this specific incident, the roadways, the fire code allows for dead-end roads due to the fact that there may be future development. And at the time that these developments came in, those roads were there for future development. If these road vacates were to happen, the fire district would need emergency turnaround at the place where the county still owns the road. Any road over 150 feet will need a turnaround according to the adopted fire code in the county. So if they are vacated, then we would need some type of turnaround at the end of the road in order for our emergency apparatus to turn around. That is all that I have, unless you have any questions.
Commissioner Bucky, any questions?
I noticed earlier it was mentioned that emergency access was requested at both Palomino and Pinto. And I was wondering why it would need to be at both.
Absolutely. So when the development, we were talking with the developer of the property, the way they were going to develop the property was starting at the back end, which is typical, so you don't have people coming through commercial, development as they're developing. But over 30 homes requires a secondary access, emergency access for the subdivision. So as it's being built out, they may need to use Palomino and they may need to use Pinto to maintain under that access point. So over 30 homes, I need 2 ways to get into that subdivision. And depending on how they build out the subdivision, that could require me to use either one or the other access point. And so that's where that comes in. If we talk about phasing and they wouldn't need those access points, that would be fine. But if you vacate those easements, then I would need fire department turnaround somewhere on Pinto and Palomino in order to turn our fire trucks around.
All right. Commissioner Schroeder, questions, sir?
We'll finish with a public comment, then may ask you some questions after.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Any other public comments? Yes, sir.
Jay Reed, 2487 Pinto Trail. This directly affects me. I am at the east end. I am where the turnaround would have to be. I've been there for 33 years, paid taxes, and I am very much against this. It's going to wreck my property value. I know, to 13, to get access to 13, yeah, it would be an expense, a very significant expense. But that shouldn't be on us. It should be on, Elizabeth accepted the PUD. And I'm sure I'm sure they struggle with finances as well. But certainly there's got to be, we're not the only ones that have ever been in this situation. There should be some grants or something, that's it's a community development. There should be some community money to help, assist them in that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comments? Hi.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Alex Kramer. I am the planner and project manager for the town of Elizabeth. And I would just like to make note for the record that my comments represent the Community Development Department and not at an official capacity for the elected officials for the town. When evaluating this project, and specifically just this property, we did not see the impact of traffic flowing through Palomino or Pinto. Like Monty Hankins, the Public Works Director, stated, there is a proposed full access intersection being proposed there at that point on 86. Our staff, as well as our transportation engineer consultant, evaluated the flow of traffic and saw that the flow would, go through town more so than the opposite through the county subdivision roads. Despite that, when the applicant submitted their application, they have proposed an emergency vehicle access only for both Palomino as the primary, secondary access point, only emergency vehicle access only, and Pinto as that secondary if needed. According to the staff report for this vacation, the purpose of these vacations was to eliminate the high volume traffic that is, potentially going to go through these subdivision roads. Currently, with an emergency vehicle access only on both Palomino and Pinto, that purpose is sufficient and the high traffic volume has been eliminated for those right-of-ways. I also would just like to make note that there is an active application on file with the town. It was processed by the town on November 7th and sent over to the county's planning department for review and comment and is due in a couple of weeks. So thank you.
Can I ask real quick? Sorry, over here. Can I ask, is that scheduled for hearings yet before the town, or is it still just in the referral process and processing?
It's in a referral process.
Okay, what is the soonest that could go to hearing?
January.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'd like a couple questions too. And since you have knowledge of the project, and there's been discussion of a access point on 86 coming out of this proposed development. Can you give me a little bit more details so I know exactly where that's going to be? Is that going to be right across where there's some kind of at the bottom of the hill there where there's a right turn right out on the south side of the road? Is that where the proposed light will be?
Yeah, currently there is a limited access right in, right out only there to enter that Legacy Village Hines Road intersection with 86. So that is where the intersection's being proposed.
And just a little more context, it's the intersection just south of the one to turn into
I'm with you now.
Walmart
I'm
and-
familiar with the request for the traffic light there. I was just curious if that was where that was meeting up. And then what kind of distance are we talking about from this development? If there was a road put in on County Road 13, what kind of distance is that? Do you know?
I don't quite know the exact distance, but there has been studies done recently with our Public Works Department as well as with Stolfus and Associates, who's our transportation engineering. They have estimated upwards of a $30 million road to connect Palomino to County Road 13. And part of that high cost is due to the bridge that would be needed to go over Gold Creek.
Thank you for answering that.
All right, thank you.
Morning.
Morning, sir. Give us your name, address.
My name is James Jacobson, and I live at 34104 Cimarron Trail. This development is just causing so much headache and trouble aching, not only in our community, but in my family. Just leaving last night, my wife and daughter just went on a trail ride using the equestrian. My daughter's 5. She just ponies her around with her. If more people are going to be coming into that and using our emergency access, more lights and sirens, say a horse spooks, we're not used to that coming in through our area. That could potentially cause more problems for our safety. I'm opposed to having any connection to this. I don't think it's right to give up our property for somebody else's gain. I think even if it's $30 million, if it's not going to work, it's not going to work. You know, you should have 2 access points. I think it is reasonable. I don't think it's going to be $30 million. I think I know somebody that said it would be closer to like 15, but I'm opposed to this. And I thank you for your time this morning, gentlemen.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? Morning, sir.
My name is Joel Latham. I live at 2493 Palomino Trail, so I'm just one house away from the cul-de-sac. I've been very concerned about this. I've been to the city meetings to talk about things, and I believe that it's understandable that they want a second access for emergency. However, we talked about the bridle trail there, that where they're proposing to put in to connect into that cul-de-sac is going to take out the bridle trail that takes us down into the wash. And I want to point out that that's not going to be a very good emergency access unless they bridge the crossing at the wash, which is right down at the end of Betty's property. We ride those trails. It drops down in the bottom. They're going to have to bridge that because we've already seen water flowing over Cimarron from floods coming down that creek, and that has not been addressed. That is a flood zone down in the bottom. That's why there's no houses down there. It also is our open space for bridle trail and for walking purposes, but we have purposely made it be an open space for the public use of Cimarron. So I don't believe that's a good emergency entrance anyway from Palomino Trail. I can't speak for Pinto, but I believe there's problems there too for that being an emergency access. I'm for vacating only to prevent that roadway from going down into the development. I am in support of providing a turnaround for the emergency vehicles on Palomino and Pinto because that gives us, access to emergency vehicles. And big trailers, garbage trucks, everybody comes in there. That's how they turn around. So we do need to have a turnaround in those spots. But we don't want to turn this into another roadway that accesses that property because it's not a good place to put a road. And I think I've always been in support and have expressed that I think that the County Road 13 easement is already in existence. They have a lift station in the city of Elizabeth right there they have to get access to. I've been told that they already go in there with their trucks. The bridging, I understand, was an issue for building a bridge, but you have to think about this. This is the same place that Highway 86 goes through. There's no bridge there, and it's already been flooded out. So They're going to have to put in a similar, maybe culverts, to bridge the crossing at the County Road 13 access to what you have on 86. But I don't know that that's been looked at. So I'm saying that's their best place for them to get their secondary access. It puts it closer to the fire department, emergency services. They would come in, they wouldn't have to come all the way and come through us. They could come in by the schools. And then that's my last point. All that development is going to have children that are going to the schools. Okay, so what's going to happen in the wintertime? They're all going to be trying to get out 86 to get around to go to the schools. Why not just put a road in there to get access to 13 where the schools are? So, that's the points that I wanted to make, So in summary, I'm supporting vacation, but only to prevent a road off of our cul-de-sacs. I would support leaving an easement there so that emergency vehicles can turn around.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else? All right, seeing none, we will close the public comments portion of this. And we'll start with questions here. Commissioner Schroeder, you have some questions, I think you indicated, sir.
Well, I have lots of them, and probably aren't going to get all the way answered today.
Well, I knew that.
But since we have a professional in the room, Kara, if you wouldn't mind stepping up again.
Absolutely.
Do we have, there's talk now that if this is vacated, they're going to have a turnaround at the end of these roads. What is there now for your equipment?
So there is, I would say, kind of a temporary, the 60-foot road access that they have right now would not meet a cul-de-sac according to the fire code. The fire code needs 98 feet for our fire department apparatus to turn around. The reason the road was built like that to begin with was because the fire code allows for dead-end roads if future development is going to come in. So back in the day when that was done, a cul-de-sac was not designed at the end of the road due to the fact that future development was going to be, it was going to be used for future development.
It was anticipated to.
It was anticipated to use for future development. So that's why at that time, we didn't have the easement for that turnaround. That is what the fire code requires. There is probably a little more defined turnaround at Palomino. Pinto is definitely rough for that turnaround. They would need to do some work for that road to have a proper turnaround if the easements were vacated.
Okay. Thank you. And then there's been discussion of emergency access only. How does that work? Is it been discussion that's just a sign, but is there a gate? Do you have situations in the county where it's gated off that is still considered emergency access that your folks can still access where they need to go, and in case of an emergency that it meets what your needs are?
So there has been a lot of different ways that people can provide emergency access only. A gate with what we call a Knox key, which is a key that our fire department only has, would suffice for emergency access only, to where the fire district would be able to access it and no one else would be able to access that road. And remember, this is also good for people at the end of that cul-de-sac. If there is an emergency where Cimarron is closed and we still needed to get to people at the end of Pinto or Palomino, we would be using that access the opposite way for us to get into those communities as well, to provide a secondary access for some of those at the end of the cul-de-sac there. So it does work both ways, but it can be gated and it can have a special lock for just the emergency access to get through.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
The other thing I would like to be able to know, and I don't know that we will be able to know this today, the talk of the bridle path, I would be interested for us to be able to see where that is deeded. The exhibits that we have, the one for Palomino does show a bridle path as an easement through the property, but it doesn't. I guess I would have to have some more detail on the actual part where the road is, because the easement is showing around the property on the map that I have. So I would like to be able to do some investigation and see exactly where that deeded property is and how much this would impact, to see where we're at. Obviously, there's an existing roadway of some sort through there to the end of both Palomino and Pinto, and to see how that improvements there might affect the deeded property would be important for me to look at.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Schroeder. Commissioner Buck.
Thank you. I agree with Commissioner Schroeder on the deeded property, the legal description, the adverse possession rule that might come into place. I don't know how that all would play out. It would be worth looking at. My question to the fire chief over there, Kara, would be if there was no through access through Palomino and Pinto, and Gold Creek Commons had to put in full access potentially on 13, would that satisfy your requirement of 2 access points into Gold Creek Commons?
Yes. So if they found 2 distinct, different access points for their subdivision, that would...
They need 2 total.
That would satisfy that. But vacating those would also require us to have turnarounds at the end of those Palomino and Pinto in order for fire district turnarounds.
So even if they had a second access point into Gold Creek Commons, we would still need, if we did the vacation, they would still need to have turnarounds.
That is correct.
Gotcha. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other comments, questions?
No, not at this time.
That prompted another one from me.
Go ahead.
Monty, could you come up, please?
When he gets through, I got like 3 pages of questions for you, but I'm
Sure.
kidding.
As far as if this was to be vacated and turnarounds required to put in there, I assume that would be on Road and Bridge to do that.
Correct.
Is there room there, sufficient space to make that happen?
Absolutely not. And the issue with this was brought to light to me last week by Chief Steck with the Elbert or Elizabeth Fire District, the turnaround. Their regs, their standards, requirements aren't mirrored to ours. So the turnaround that Kara is referring to is not identified within our regs. So that was news to me and enlightening. That's why today the vacancy is proposed as a consideration for you all. In light of many new items that have come about today, I would have you guys strongly consider that, maybe suggest to staff that we study this out further, take into consideration the fire code aspect of this, because especially on Pinto Trail, it is very unrealistic and not even feasible to put a 98-foot cul-de-sac at the end of that road.
Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
The other aspect that, as I stated when I was up here the first time, I was unaware of this bridle path. If it's an actual easement, I'm not sure, because it's not associated with Road and Bridge Public Works. So I think that should be taken into consideration as well. in what we're thinking about considering moving forward.
No, I agree wholeheartedly. There's still questions that need to be asked before we could make a good decision. And since it's just on discussion, that's all that was intended to be done today, was to discuss. We can certainly direct staff, as you suggested, to do some more investigation and find out about some of these other things that have came up, particularly the deeded bridle path, where that is at. Investigate more on the cul-de-sac, and so that we have some more information. That would be my suggestion for us to move forward.
Let me just interject too that I am currently the second Public Works Director the county has ever had in history. Prior to this event, and maybe Chief Steck has a little more experience with the gate aspect of an emergency gated aspect. Our legal counsel in the past has drawn a hard line of no gates. It has to be full movement, secondary access. That's just been kind of a stance the county has taken. So that was the perspective that Public Works was coming from, because I'm not aware of any gates. I've not really seen them. I'm sure Kara, as she said, is aware of those. But in my experience in the 16 years I've worked here, and what I've experienced as far as allowing an emergency gated access with a Knox box, we really haven't done that historically in my career here. Therefore, that was the perspective as moving forward with the vacancies. I think it could be looked at. I'm not saying go there, but maybe it should be something that's looked at. But I think even then, it might be kind of difficult if there's a bridle path or utility deeded easement. Even that might make things a little bit difficult with that scenario as well.
Okay, very good. I know we had a long discussion a couple years ago now, maybe a year and a half, on Phantom Creek with the same issue, with emergency access.
Yep.
And that was, I think they changed the way that they were laying out that land to get away from having that emergency access on there. So I know that has been the stance of the county in the past. So
Yes.
I agree with what your assessment was prior.
Yeah.
It? I'll just say that I've got some great concerns about the property rights, about the easements. There's a lot of things in there that I'm not comfortable with. The emergency response, all these things have got to be looked at, and I think it's our obligation and duty to do that. I would agree with Commissioner Schroeder that we need to investigate this a lot more.
I would agree too.
Okay. All right. Gentlemen, any other comments, questions? All right, sir. All right. Well, that being
Commissioners?
said- Yes, sir.
This is an item that required specialized notice. It required mailed notice to abutting landowners at least 10 days in advance of this hearing. If this is something you want to take up again this year, I suggest you continue this to a date certain to preserve that notice and jurisdiction. If not, when it comes back, it'll have to be renoticed. The town of Elizabeth could have hearings on their side of the land use as early as January, so you might want to take this up in December, although I'll leave that entirely up to you.
And I believe our meeting in December is the 17th.
17th, yes,
That's
correct. Right. We're going to have two in December?
Well, that's correct. 10th and the 17th.
Okay, got it.
I guess I would ask staff, with the request that we're putting forward, is that enough? Or which meeting would you prefer to, we don't want to overburden staff trying to do this in a short period of time if they're.
Yeah, from a legal standpoint, this isn't terribly difficult. I can answer most of the questions that have been asked today as far as can you have a gate and questions of that nature. As far as what's the best option, I'll defer to Monty how much time he needs to confer with those interested parties. But I do think it's a viable legal option to vacate the right-of-way but reserve emergency access on either or both roads and to gate them for purposes of emergency access. I think that is a legal option. So that said, I would defer to Monty how much time he needs to explore with interested parties, whether that's a viable option for other parties concerned.
Yeah, this process has taken quite some time. I'm sure the developers are quite frustrated. When we met with the town, we had kind of decided verbally on about a month from that meeting that we would have a decision. Many things come up within Public Works. There's a lot of development going on within the county. Things did get delayed a little bit, but once we buckled down, we made it happen. I would feel comfortable, since we're this far into the process and understanding, surveys and this and that we could make the 17th deadline.
All right, I'll just say that, some of my questions I've written down have been answered, but I would say the 17th would probably, to be fair to everybody, I think the 17th, is my personal opinion, would be the date to shoot for. So, Commissioner Buck, go ahead and ask you your opinion.
No, I agree. 17th is fine.
Commissioner Schroeder.
So you would want then a motion to continue till the 17th?
Yes, please. Is there a motion to continue to the 17th?
Mr. Chair, I move that we move to both the consideration of the resolution on vacating Palomino Trail and Pinto Trail and continue that to December 17th.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries.
And for clarification, that's at 9 a.m.?
Yes, 9 a.m. on the 17th.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next items, action items. First item is third quarter 2025 Public Trustee Report.
Good morning, Sherry Hewlett, Elbert County Public Trustee. I don't really have anything to add to the report unless you all have questions. In comparison to the third quarter of 2024, it's very similar. The only difference being we had more sales in 25 than we did in 24. But by and large, all the numbers are pretty consistent with what we were at this time last year. So unless you have any other questions for me, nothing significantly different than a year ago at this time.
But it's moving in a positive direction, right, from last year?
Yeah, and just so you know, foreclosures aren't on the uptick. I think we're at 28 or 29, which is a couple more than this time last year. So it's not a significant increase in foreclosures, new foreclosures. We're just unfortunately having more sales than withdrawals at this time. So,
Thank you.
okay.
All right, next item is the consideration of Deer Creek Water District Board vacancy.
Wait, we need to vote
We need
and
to vote,
approve
sorry.
that.
Thank you, I'm getting ahead of myself here. All right, do we have a motion?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve the third quarter 2025 Public Trustee Report.
Second.
Motion, second, all in favor, sign of aye.
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 Aye, motion carries. Now, consideration of Deer Creek Water District Board vacancy. Give me just a minute. So you've got some emails, I think just come before you here. There's been a request for us to make this appointment here. Commissioner Buck, do you want to lead with this?
Well, I'd like to defer to our legal counsel and just have him explain how this process works and how our responsibility and obligation is to fill this position.
And I know you were out of the room, Lance, but this is on the Deer Creek Water District.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner. I anticipated you might have questions. I just thought I'd be back quicker. So this is in your packet, and it kind of summarizes the legal issue. The legal issue is you have a water district that has a vacancy, and they have not been successful in filling that vacancy within the 60 days allotted by statute. When that happens, the board can give notice when there's a request for this board to fill the vacancy. You can give notice of at least 30 days, and after that 30 days expires, you have the ability to fill that vacancy. You do not have a mandate to do that, but you have the ability to do that. So this is set up that more than 30 days has passed since notice went to the current board of directors of the district, and this could be a decision the board makes. Now, that said, I've had conversations with at least one of you saying, I don't know how to make this decision. I don't have adequate information at this time to know who I should appoint. And if the board were inclined to make an appointment but do so with additional information, I think you have every right to make such a request and to direct that interested applicants or otherwise give you additional information on their qualifications so that you can make this decision at a date of your choosing when you feel you're informed enough to do so. So legally, you could make an appointment today. You do have some applicants, but if you don't feel you have sufficient information to make that decision, I think you can set it over and request what you would like to receive.
All right.
Did I answer the question that was asked in my absence?
Yes, sir. Commissioner Schroeder, you have any comments or questions, sir?
No, I'm the one that has talked, I guess I'll disclose that to our attorney, how to make a decision on who is the best person for this appointment based on our self-nomination forms that we received that basically is an address that they've lived there or they're an owner there and what their term might be. I don't know. To me, that's not enough information for me to make a good decision. If this is something that we're going to do, I certainly would want to make an informed decision, being able to get some more information from these applicants, their backgrounds, their history, their resumes, and be able to make an informed decision as opposed to just basically throwing a dart at a dartboard to see which one there is. So if the water board still cannot reach an agreement on who should fill this spot, I am not comfortable moving forward until I've had a more chance to learn more about these applicants.
All right, and I would say that, of course, we're not at the point of public comment yet, so Commissioner Buck, you got any comments?
Well, other than I am glad we have some applicants to choose from. I think that's a positive. But I do think there's some applicants maybe here or there's some speakers here today that could talk about qualifications, the reasons why we should appoint, who we should appoint, and can kind of talk us through that a little bit. So I think we reserve judgment until we've gone through the whole process.
Okay. All right, moving on. Is there any public comment? I would like to hear from, I'd like to hear from Mr. Cookworth, if you don't mind.
If you'd like to start, there's a list of folks that are in the room, board members.
If you come up here, please.
So Kevin Kirkwood, current president of the Deer Creek Water District, 304085 Meadowlark Court. There is the entire board here today. And frankly, we are at an impasse to answer the main question of how and who to select. We have a conversation or two that went down the road of, we have a past board member who would like to rejoin the board. He hasn't gone through the hiatus period, which is a 4-year period between the last time he served and the current time that he served. We have 2 interested parties. I have vetted both of them. The first is a strong project manager, program manager, who sells and delivers fairly serious and fairly heavy medical equipment, and to the tune of multi-million dollars for each one of the instances that they deliver. And it is fundamentally the foundation of what we're looking for in going forward. And I can give you more of the conversation if you'd like, or would you just like to ask questions?
I'll leave it up to the too, but you're here as the president of the,
That's
of the
correct.
board. Okay.
I have a question. Talk a little bit about that 4-year hiatus. Can you elaborate on that? Is that a state requirement or?
It's a state requirement that we
And hold on.
worked with our lawyers to determine whether or not we could seek an exception on that behalf, on that person's behalf. And the answer was we could if we had no other candidates. And so I reached out to a couple of my neighbors that have expressed interest in the past, and they are more than willing to serve. And in fact, we have probably a vacancy that's going to occur November, December timeframe as well, which will also leave us in that same kind of conversation. So having 2, potentially 3 candidates in reserve is actually very good and very fortuitous for us.
But that is a state requirement, not an HOA?
No, it is not. No, this is not related to the HOA at all.
Okay.
In fact, the HOA only serves one segment of the, of 283 houses
Gotcha.
that we serve.
And then, are you aware of the 3 applicants that we've currently been provided? I assume you are?
I am aware and understand their qualifications at many levels.
Do you have a recommendation for us?
I do have a recommendation. The person that I would recommend, his name is Anthony Tony Hampton. He's been a resident of the neighborhood for the better part of 10 years. He has had both the benefit and the challenge of working with the water district. He had a leak that sprang into his neighborhood from a neighboring meter pit, and it flooded out his backyard and pretty much almost washed away his entire concrete infrastructure in his backyard. And so we had to work with him to figure out how to make that work and right. But he's the one that has the background in program and project management. What we have come to impasse on has been literally around how to approach a capital project. The capital project is the replacement of meter pits. So we've got a very aged infrastructure across the board. We've got a development that was started by a farmer rancher, and he decided to turn his, or a segment of his farm and ranch into a subdivision, and welded together several grain silos, put in irrigation pumps, ran Schedule 40 PVC across the board to service the houses in the community, all of which have come to at least some level of an end, right? So that welded together tank was something that had to be replaced. We did a capital project probably 5 years ago and finished that 5 years ago. Put in a new well house with a $500,000 tank, or 500,000 gallon tank, a brand new pump infrastructure. We could not replace the PVC piping because it means digging up the entire neighborhood. And so we're now looking at new capital projects that allow us to actually take from the road to the house and refurbish that. Our meters are in meter pits, and we didn't do the kind of thing that we needed to do to keep them up to speed, so we had a capital project to clean them out. And so we've gone through multiple iterations of work just to get us to the point where we're limping and doing reasonably well. We had to put in additional fees, additional finance structures. We have paid down the vast majority of that debt and are starting to acquire or accrue additional funds. We have an in excess of $250,000 for capital projects, which is pretty good for a water district. And we owe much of that to the community management service that we have, CRS. They have been responsible for making sure that we're organized, that we have a good, solid budget. We're working within state regulations all the way down through to the point where we're actually delivering value out to our customers. And now we're at the point where we need to finance the meters. And we actually had from Jeff Hunley, one of the new members of the board, a very good idea that none of us had considered, that gave us an opportunity to figure out how to put a meter in a house, which is kind of the current standard, I guess, and replace the meter pits. Phase one of that project has been literally to figure out how do we finance the meters and finance the installation in houses. It requires going into houses, it requires opening lines and making sure that we don't, or that we fully test the foundation that we're putting in place. And structurally, we're looking at things that, how do we communicate to our community that, oh, by the way, we're going to come into your house, we're going to cut into your drywall in some places, we'll put cabinetry in place to mitigate that. How do we pay for the insurance associated with putting in a water system inside of a home that if leaks, we would become responsible for? And so we have multi-million-dollar homes, we have million-dollar homes, and we have some that are less than that in our neighborhood. And one incident in an $800,000 to $1 million home where it's been unattended and it floods out the basement, owner comes home and finds they've got a swimming pool in their basement, we will literally bankrupt the water district. And so the insurance is key and critical. We've had a number of conversations around how do we get this communication going. We have not come to the right conclusion. We've had a number of special district meetings called that were called at inopportune hours, and with the exclusion of our management company and our engineering company. And so we have literally come to a point where we're at an impasse.
So, sorry to interrupt, can I ask you a quick question?
Sure.
You mentioned a water management company. Have they weighed in at all on the appointments, on who they feel might be a good candidate, who they prefer working with?
They've very much been Switzerland in this case, right? They have supported the initiative. They have done the yeoman's effort of planning the work, making sure that we have all of the things that we need, but they have not weighed in on the candidacy. They have, however, made the assertion that, and they're here, and if you'd like to speak to them, you can ask questions of them as well, that if this changes, if we do not answer the question correctly, that they are going to put in their 30-day notice. And that would put us in another difficult situation.
So they have weighed in. That's weighing in.
It's weighing in on the current candidates on the side that or the current board members that are helping find a way to deliver the value correctly.
Let me ask you a couple of questions real quick. So I hear you, it's not an emergency, but this has been looming out there for some time, and it's a matter of urgency.
The urgency is in we need to spend that budget this year. We've got $250,000. If we spend $200,000, it leaves us with about $50,000 to hopefully avoid leaks, or to hopefully avoid any kind of an emergency. But it gets us to the purchase price, it gets us to the equipment that we need to get the work started and get the team on the ground and going.
And so by doing this, you're reducing your exposure to liability.
Yes.
All right, and then, are these the only 3 applicants that you've gotten that submitted applications?
That's the only 3 applicants that we've asked. Dave Lunko, former board member, was mentoring 2 of the new board members, and that's how he was connected. And then the neighbors that I talked to were very willing and able to weigh in.
Okay. I have any further questions. Commissioner Schroeder?
Just a hypothetical question. You're expecting another resignation off the board, so you'll have a 3-member board at that point?
Yes.
Would that resolve your issue then? Because then there'd be appointments made by the 3-member board?
Yes, it would. We're allowed to operate with a 3-member board. It would break the deadlock. It would allow us to continue. I won't speak for the other candidates or the other board members in the room, whether they would stay or not. I know that I would hope that they would. Jeff Hunley, who is one of the newest board members that would be sticking around, has provided significant value. In fact, we give him credit for thinking up the ideas of putting in the new meter systems he also was key and critical in making the decision associated with buying redundant pumps. And so, to me, that's a new member weighing in, thinking outside the box, and doing something different. We have literally gone from the point where board members used to jump in to flood in meter pits, to turn off the meter pit so that they could do this and then dump the water, do all the work, to a management company, an engineering firm, and associated staff with associated budget to actually deliver value for the community, deliver clean water, deliver the way and as cheaply as we can economically is probably a better way to say that, but as we can to our community.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other public comments?
Commissioners.
Hi.
I'm David Lunka. I'm one of the candidates you're going to consider. I just want, before I make my statement, I just want to address what Mr. Kirkwood said. CRS, the management company, there's two representatives here, and Kevin Kirkwood and Gene King. They were provided I think it's 2001 Ken Salazar Attorney General opinion that partial terms do not apply to full terms. So although they were talking about the 4-year gap, I can absolutely, according to the Attorney General opinion. And I was told prior to finding that opinion that, by the management company, that I can't serve. The attorney said so. Well, that was false. Okay? And they have been provided that opinion. So I'm going to begin my statement. As far as the district going bankrupt, sorry, this is weird talking into the mic. I'm here to request, at the request of current and former Deer Creek Water District board members, to ask for your consideration to appoint me to a partial term to the board so I can help them navigate some complex issues using my past and present knowledge of the district. I served 2 full consecutive terms on the board that ended in May 2023. During those 8 years, I was the catalyst for and a major contributor to many district improvements, including the $2.3 million approximate dollar amount water plant replacement project, governing document updates, hiring of a management company, etc. My final 2 years were as treasurer, and my experience and knowledge of all aspects of Deer Creek Water District from its 2008 inception to present is extensive, and I am always learning. Having attended all Deer Creek Water District board meetings since July 25, some of the current issues facing the board include the major proposed capital improvement, transparency, and board collaboration and communication. Director Jeff Hunley contacted me in June 2025 to discuss a viable solution to the district's years-long water meter reading, and meter pit problems. He gathered information and proposed the project to the board in July 2025. Prior to and after that meeting, I carefully reviewed the district's financials from end of year 2023 to present and determined that the first step of the project, meter installation with cellular transmitters, was financially viable with the district money available through 2025. I went over my findings in person with Director Jeff Hunley months ago and stated the entire board needed to see them. And I have all those with me. And I have projections for 2026. A meeting for the board to discuss my financial review findings has not happened after multiple attempts made by Directors Jeff Hunley and Kirk Schroeder. Furthermore, a meeting to address your October 14th, 2025 letter to the board stating their statutory requirement to fill the vacancy did not happen after an attempt by Directors Jeff Hunley and Kirk Schroeder. With your appointment, I am confident I can provide positive contribution to the district. Thank you for your time and consideration to appoint me to the Deer Creek Water District Board for a partial term. That term would end May 27. That's what I'm looking to do. And that would not violate the term limits law. Yes, that would not violate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any other public comments? right, seeing none. All right.
Dear Commissioners, Nick Lynch, 2173 Red Maple Circle. I want to thank you for your time and your service that you provide to the citizens of this county. I stand before you as the individual that brought you this matter here today. I initiated the email to Wendy Holmes. Our district represents only 1% to 2% of the county, which embarrasses me that this needed to come here before you today. This isn't a matter of finding a warm body to fill a vacancy. This is a matter of appointing an experienced decision maker to the board of directors for the water that I drink every day. I was prepared to provide you with my own self-nomination, yet once I saw 3 nominees in front of you, I saw no need to make this any harder because I fully endorse Dave Lunka as the best option in front of you today. I do actually applaud Renee Marker and Anthony Hampton for stepping up to the plate and providing a self-nomination, and I would encourage them to continue staying engaged in our water district by attending future meetings. There's actually an agenda item posted for this evening to look at committee members to be for oversight, budget, insurance, and overall engagement from our community to be on this water board. The reality that I need to express here is that neither of these individuals, Renee Marker or Anthony Hampton, attended a meeting according to any of the minutes that I have copies of here today, and I'm happy to provide you of that. Those minutes go back for years. This is not something that you get to just step into and say, I've got a little bit of experience. This is something that our water district needs individuals that know what they're doing. I want to remind you of the meeting with the 4-H recently and the overwhelming appreciation that you had for the experience that those would be on those resumes. And that as business owners, each one of you would look to that to make decisions for our county or for your businesses and utilize that as a catalyst for making the right decision. What Dave's presented to you here today is astounding that we're even considering other people. 8 years on this board, he was one of the individuals that led to the upgrade that our facility feeds our homes with today. And there likely wouldn't be water consistently delivered to our home without that pump system. For him to stand back here in front of you as a volunteer and as an applicable self-nominee for a vacancy, I hope you can utilize that same faith in what you do in your background to lead you in what you need to do today. I appreciate your time and thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Any other public comments?
Yes, my name is Kirk Schroeder. I'm a current Water District Director serving on the board, and I'm also speaking as a member of our community. I live at 3560 Zangray Loop. And I want to preface my comments with a little bit about my history so you might better understand my comments later. I am a 25-year retired veteran. I served in 17 foreign countries. I am the recipient of 5 medals for that service in action. And I was also afforded the opportunity to attend both the Non-Commissioned Leadership Academy and the Senior Non-Commissioned Leadership Academy, where I was a distinguished graduate of both. When it comes to leadership, that is really the question before you today. It isn't necessarily about qualifications. There are candidates among you, at least one, who is eminently qualified with 8 years of service, and that's David Lunka. He is not only intimately involved with being a president, I served in parallel with him on the HOA board for the last 8 years. I have seen him, as I imagine you, come under fire as leaders. I have seen him under fire as a leader and have nothing but respect and admiration for him. When I hear our president of our water district tell you he doesn't know which direction to go. This project is 2 years down the road, and we don't know which direction we are going. In the military, we call that not getting the mission done. You either complete it or you don't. There is not good leadership nor bad leadership. There is either leadership or there is not. And that is the question before you today. I have a page of notes. I'm not going to go into detail. You will certainly ask yourself at the end whether the candidates before you are qualified and if there is one that stands out. I would ask you to ask yourself the opposite side of that question. Who stands before you with no experience on the water board? It took me 2 years to get up to speed on the water board. You need that much time to go through problems and fix things. You can't just, as Nick put a warm body in that seat and expect them to be effective. We're going to be changing meters, entering almost 300 homes. That's phase 1. Then we're going to be digging up their yards to remove water pits. That's phase 2. That's going to involve major connection disruptions to the main lines. We need somebody on this water board today. We don't need to wait to break a deadlock. You can break that deadlock today. We need somebody in this board that's going to hit the ground running. Dave was our treasurer. He's also the author of our budget. There is no one in this room or in this district with more experience than Dave Lunka. 2 4-year terms and parallel service on our HOA. He is an adherent to the regulations and the policies. I grew up watching a show called Dragnet. You have gray hair, I have gray hair, you may have watched those. Joe Friday, just the facts, ma'am. Dave is just the facts, ma'am. And I say that with admiration. He is professionally unemotional, able to take complex projects and problems, parse them down, make decisions, and get the mission done. With respect, I thank you for listening to my comments, and I would encourage you to make your decision as your duty allows. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments?
Morning, Jeff Hundley, 3043 Deer Creek Ranch Loop. I'm currently a board member for the Water District. Just wanted to state some facts. October 2nd, we had 1 self-nomination, and that was Dave Lunka. The board voted 2-2, no and yes. 2 no voting members were asked why they would not respond. The only thing we were told by the president was if you wait till December, you'll get a better result. Here we are. The other 2 self-nominations, yesterday was the first time I was made aware of those nominations. One was dated October 9th, one was dated October 12th, which was 5 days before your letter came to the district. So I don't know where those nominations came from, who was hiding them, but we didn't even have a chance to review those and look at those candidates. So I hope you appoint Dave Lunka. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Good morning.
Good morning. I'm Jay Kirkwood, 3485 Meadowlark Court, and I am speaking as a community member and what I have witnessed. And I had a personal conversation, well, it wasn't personal, but a one-on-one conversation with Dave Lunka years ago. And he was asking my husband to vote to get rid of the current president. And I found that to be shocking, for one. And he was pleading at the time. And the president of the water board then was Gary, I'll just say Gary. And he had all these reasons that he had, I don't know if they were made up, I'm not part of the water board. However, I found it extremely disturbing that somebody would do that. And he was pleading with Kevin, and Kevin was very open and said, he just listened. He said he didn't want to be part of this, and I encouraged him to not be part of it. So there's a lot going on that's underneath the covers here. And while I agree that we need people that are good and responsive, I've also been part of, I walked in the hallway of my home, and Kirk they were on a meeting, and it was a Zoom meeting, I guess. And Kirk was just so rude, and I had to speak up, and I believe that CRS, Marcos was there as well in the meeting, and Kirk was just being very abusive in speaking in this meeting, and I spoke up. And I asked him to just please have some respect and decorum. And he wanted to know who I was, because I wasn't in the video, but it just was that bad. And so I am very opposed to have Dave Lunka come again and bring some of this character to our board. I would encourage you to vote or to nominate or to appoint Tony or Anthony, quite frankly.
Thank you. Any other public comments? Just try to keep it on point of what we're here for, and that's just strictly an
It'll be very short.
Thank you.
I'm Jean King. I'm the other board member that is on the board right now. The reason that we're in a deadlock is we don't have communication. I have tried to talk to Director Hundley and Director Schroeder. They have ignored my emails, and we need to figure out, the four of us, before we added a new member. And that's why in the October meeting, I proposed that the four of us get together, figure out what's going on, why we're in such different odds, and then appoint a member. They didn't, that was dismissed out of hand. And so that's why we're at this place. We really need a new perspective. I really hope that you appoint Anthony to this position, because we need to move forward, but there are a lot of questions. And what he's saying, the mission is not completed, we haven't even looked at everything yet. We cannot go forward until we know everything about it, and CRS is included in that, and they want to exclude them. I ask that you appoint Anthony. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Any other public comments? All right, I just want to, Lance, I'm gonna bear with you, but I think we need to get on point. I don't mean any disrespect when I say this, but what's going on internally, that's the board's business. Whether you like the president or not like the president of the board, that's the board's business. But the president has spoke with his recommendation, but I think that we need to just get back to the facts that we have an opening, has not been filled, and we need to focus on that and not all the other stuff. Not that it's not important, but for us, it is important that we focus on just the facts here. Right?
Well, that's correct. I don't know what factors the commissioners want to use to consider filling this replacement, but you do have the authority to fill this replacement. And if you fill this replacement, it would seemingly break a deadlock for their district and allow them to continue to make decisions. But the rationale that they would apply is not required that you consider the exact same thing. At this point, it's permissive. You have the authority, but not the mandate to act.
Yeah, I just don't want this board getting into this internal squabble, I'll use that word, what's going on. So we know that, is my opinion, gentlemen, addressing the other board members here, that this matter it may not be an emergency, but they need to do something sooner than later due to the circumstances that have been outlaid by the president of the board. So with that, I'll ask you, gentlemen, if you have any comments. I'll start with you, Commissioner Schroeder.
I'll just repeat what I said. I'm hesitant, as you alluded to, Mr. Chair, of getting in the middle of a local district fight and being the heavy-handed county coming in to make a decision. I would certainly like to hear more from the other two candidates. It makes me wonder how serious they are if they weren't here to promote themselves or to send a letter of some sort, but I'd sure like to hear from them as well before we made a decision. But it is a question. I still think we have incomplete information on the applicants. It also seems to me as though if there's going to be a vacancy, that this will kind of sort itself out in the future. So I'll just leave it at that.
Commissioner Buck?
Yeah, I would just like to make some comments, and I'm not going to address all of my concerns because I definitely heard some concerns there. But they need us to make a decision. They are at an impasse and are currently deadlocked. So I think we need to look at that this is what we're here for today. And I'll mention one of my concerns. If a certain candidate has so much experience and they're such a great leader, why is the board not begging to have them back on? With all that experience, it draws a red flag to me that I would be honored to have someone with that experience. But instead, they're saying, hey, this is an issue. We don't see it that way. It's not translating into the leadership that we're looking for to move forward. I'm going to make a recommendation and make a motion. I'm going to make a motion that we appoint Anthony Hampton to the Deer Creek Water District Board vacancy at the recommendation of the current president of the Deer Creek Water Board.
All right, there's a motion on the table. Is there a second? All right, I will second the motion. I've known Mr. Cookboard a long time. I know him to be a reputable man. And he is the current president, and whether folks like it or not, he is the president, and that's his recommendation. So I will second the motion. So there's a motion and a second. All in favor, sign of aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Nay.
Motion carries. All right, thank you. Lance, unless you have a reason for us to need to go into executive session, the other two board members have indicated that they have no reason to go into executive session at this point.
No, sir. As I've said before, that is on your agenda as a placeholder in case something comes up that makes it appropriate so that you have proper notice. I have no need to request from you or suggest an executive session.
Okay, sir. Folks, if y'all could step out while we can continue with the business, thank you. All right, next item on the agenda is board planning. We've already discussed the 17th, 9 a.m. I don't know of any workshop. I'm sure there will be workshops and study sessions coming up, but I know that both of you are going to have some travel plans, so I don't know if we can do any. We probably just don't need to plan anything like that right now around that. So I don't know of any.
We do have a couple of work-study sessions scheduled for Friday.
Right.
Thursday.
Thursday. Wait a minute. What is it like Friday? Short circuit my brain, man.
Yeah.
All right. So Thursday, we know that we've got that. Which is then pending hearings. Do we need to? We just need to leave that open for right now because I know there's some open discussions about pending hearing and so forth. So we'll just leave that alone for now. Is that all right with you? Okay. All right. With that being said, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. We don't need a motion for that. We will adjourn. Sorry.
Recess till 1 o'clock?
What's that?
We're not adjourning.
Recess until 1 o'clock?
Recess till 1 o'clock. Thank you.